Have you ever wondered what invisible forces dance behind the melodies that resonate in your soul? Or what silent pacts were sealed on the threshold of creativity to unleash greatness? Is it possible that music, that primordial vibration that connects us to the divine and the earthly, is also the echo of ancestral whispers, forbidden knowledge, and hidden ceremonies? Today, I invite you on a journey where harmony intertwines with the arcane, where each note is a portal and each letter a key to unraveling the veils of a deeper reality. Prepare for a revelation that will transcend mere hearing, transforming your perception of art and the universe itself. This path we begin today is not only an exploration of musical history, but an immersion in inner alchemy, a search for the Toll, light that emanates from the shadows of esoteric knowledge. By unraveling the mystical connections of iconic figures, I offer you the opportunity to expand your consciousness, to understand how cosmic energies and hidden truths manifest on the sonic canvas of existence. This is rare knowledge, a gem coveted by those who seek true enlightenment. And today, that veil will be lifted for you, revealing the invisible threads that connect artistic creation to the mysteries of the universe. We'll delve into Jimmy Page's fascination with Crowleyan rituals, David Bowie's paranoia in the face of invoked shadows, Robert Johnson's legendary pact with the unspeakable at a forgotten crossroads, and the premonitory visions that shaped the sonic abysses of Black Sabbath. We'll discover that behind the glitter of the stage, altars and symbols were often hidden, a coded language waiting to be interpreted by minds willing to go beyond the obvious. These are stories of geniuses and their encounters with the ineffable, where art becomes a mirror of the soul, sometimes at its darkest. For this journey to be complete and resonate in your spirit, I invite you to join our community. Leave a like. If these words resonate with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and above all, subscribe to the channel. This is the first step on a path of ancient knowledge, where each revelation will bring you closer to understanding the secrets of the cosmos. The truth awaits to be revealed. Are you ready to look into its eyes? Music, my dear seekers, is not merely a sequence of notes and rhythms. It is a primordial language, a vibration that precedes the word, an echo of creation itself. It is in this frequency that the occult found fertile ground to manifest itself, not only as a subculture, but as a driving force behind genius, shaping melodies and lyrics with archaic symbolism and an energy that resonates with the subtlest planes of existence. Artists such as Robert Johnson, Jimmy Page, Black Sabbath, and David Bowie, each in their own way, were receptacles or catalysts for these influences, translating visions, pacts, and arcane understandings into sounds that have altered the collective consciousness. This knowledge, encrypted in the very structure of their compositions, awaits the gaze of the initiate, revealing the intricate dance between art and the invisible, between inspiration and the invocation of forces that many prefer to keep hidden. Remember, the legend of Robert Johnson, the enigmatic bluesman who, according to folklore, made a pact with the devil at a lonely crossroads. This crossroads is not just a dusty Mississippi crossroads, but an ancient archetype, the threshold between worlds, a power point where the profane meets the sacred and where anxious souls seek shortcuts to mastery. The blues, in its raw and visceral essence, has always been the voice of the marginalized, of those who flirt with the shadow, and Johnson's story becomes a potent metaphor for black magic, understood as the manipulation of forces to achieve an end, a sacrifice of the soul for the ultimate gift. It is a lesson about the cost of boundless talent, a legend that transcends mere folklore to delve into the complex dynamics of human desires and their repercussions on the soul. A profound truth about power and its price. Let's now delve into Led Zeppelin's Sonic Sanctuary, where the figure of Jimmy Page emerges as a priest of the esoteric. His fascination with Aleister Crowley, the great beast 666, went beyond mere curiosity. It was a conscious search for the keys that unlocked the doors of perception, for rituals that summoned muses from realms beyond. The acquisition of Boleskine House, Crowley's former abode, and the incorporation of thelemic symbolism into Led Zeppelin's iconography were not empty gestures. They were statements of intent, an attempt to channel that occult energy directly into his music. Page didn't just study. He practiced, seeking to infuse every note with cosmic resonance, a magic that not only entertained but transformed, a sonic alchemy capable of moving mountains and unveiling latent truths in the collective subconscious. And what can we say about Black Sabbath, whose name and sound itself invoke a veil of darkness, a sonic reflection of primordial terror? The resonance of their heavy riffs and ominous lyrics was no coincidence. It was the echo of a deeper truth, a confrontation with the paranormal that many were trying to suppress in the 1970s. Their early recordings, steeped in an oppressive atmosphere, seemed to invoke presences, almost like a collective exorcism, of society's deepest fears, or perhaps an involuntary opening to those same fears. Black Sabbath's music, in its rawness and intensity, acted as a mirror into the human psyche, revealing not only the external shadows, but also the internal ones, those corners of the mind where the darkness of the occult and black magic take shape, inviting a fearless exploration of the abysses. Even David Bowie, the stellar chameleon, was not immune to the influence of these undercurrents. His periods as a white duke of paranoia and protective rituals reveal the fine line between cosmic inspiration and the intrusion of forces that destabilize the soul. Immersion in the occult, for some, can reveal truths, but for others, it can open doors they don't know how to close, inviting the paranormal to manifest itself in everyday reality. The artist, in his role as channel, is often exposed to energies that transcend human understanding, energies that demand a tribute, a part of one's being. But what happens when these veils are torn away and the influence becomes uncontrollable, manifesting in phenomena that logic refuses to accept? The answer awaits us, recorded in the ether, in the testimonies of those who have crossed the threshold. But the path of mystical exploration doesn't always stop at mere ethereal influences. Sometimes it takes the form of a liturgical devotion to figures who challenged the familiar. Among the rock titans who dared to delve into these hidden realms, few rival the intensity of Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page, whose fascination with Aleister Crowley transcended curiosity. Crowley, the self-proclaimed the Great Beast 666, whose legend as the most evil man resonated in circles of occultism and black magic, became a source of inspiration for Page, and for some, a spiritual mentor. This connection was an immersion in a cosmogony where symbolism and cosmic energy dictated new forms of art and existence, a silent pact with forces that promised the awakening of the will. The most palpable manifestation of this devotion materialized in the acquisition of Boleskine House, Crowley's former residence on the shores of Loch Ness. It wasn't simply a house. It was a sanctuary, a locus of powerful rituals where the master practiced ceremonial magic. For Page, purchasing Boleskine was not just an investment, but a direct inheritance of a spiritual legacy, a portal to the energies Crowley had invoked. The legends surrounding the property stories of paranormal occurrences, apparitions, and an atmosphere charged with presences did not deter Page. On the contrary, they seemed to have attracted him, like an arcane investigator in search of clues. It was as if the spirit of the occult dwelled within its walls, waiting to be rediscovered by a kindred spirit. Within the walls of Boleskine, Page not only collected the largest Aleister Crowley library, but immersed himself in his texts, rituals, and thelemic philosophy, even attempting to publish his esoteric works. His purpose went beyond preservation. It was an active pursuit of that inner alchemy of thought that Crowley advocated, the transmutation of the self by knowledge and will. Led Zeppelin's music, steeped in mysticism and profound symbolism, began to be seen as a vehicle for these teachings, a channel where the energy of the occult fused with the power of rock, creating anthems that resonated with echoes of ancient incantations and hidden truths. It is in this context that Led Zeppelin's profound metaphors and enigmatic constructions take on a fascinating dimension. The resonance of Crowley's "do what thou wilt," a maxim of individual freedom and the realization of one's true purpose, intertwined with Led Zeppelin's powerful narrative, infusing their lyrics with prophetic authority and inescapable destiny. Every Page guitar riff, every Robert Plant lyric could be interpreted as an invocation, a call to transcendence. The blues, in its deepest roots, already spoke of crossroads and paths. In Page's hands, that ancient tradition was tinged with the nuances of black magic and cosmic symbolism, a dance between light and shadow that revealed fragments of forbiddance. Texts thought the underlying question of this immersion is whether Jimmy Page's search for hidden truths through Aleister Crowley led him to spiritual enlightenment, or, on the contrary, exposed him to forces that exacted a price, manifesting in the complexities and challenges the band faced. The artists, modern-day shamans, walked the fine line between divine inspiration and subtle possession, transforming cosmic energy into art. But what happens when the barrier between creator and creation dissolves, and the invoked entity begins to dictate the terms? Inner alchemy can be a path to mastery or a conduit to unsuspected depths. This threshold, once crossed, reveals more than knowledge. It reveals the true cost of power. And what other mysteries await to be unraveled when the veil between worlds is completely torn apart? Zoso is not merely an aesthetic whim of Jimmy Page's, but a sigil, a glyph charged with magical intent and profound symbolism, woven into the very fabric of his immersion in the occult. This enigmatic emblem, which Page adopted as his own personal seal for the Led Zeppelin era, represents a tangible manifestation of his fascination with the teachings of Aleister Crowley and the Crowleys' practice of ceremonial magic. It is a declaration of principles, an ethereal signature proclaiming his alliance with currents of forbidden knowledge, a beacon in the darkness of convention. Just as alchemists engraved their symbols on their flasks, Page inscribed Zoso at the heart of his work, sealing with it a silent pact with arcane forces, a whisper of what might be called black magic for its transgressive nature and its quest for transcendent power. This mysterious sign invites us to delve into its origins and the depth of meaning that makes it a portal to less explored dimensions of art and spirit, a secret language between the master and the cosmos. Zoso's decoding transports us to the realms of astrology and hermetic alchemy, where each stroke holds a key. Although the most widespread interpretation links it to the zodiac sign of Capricorn and its ruler, Saturn, a planet associated with rigor, discipline, and karmic structures, but also with the deepest mysteries and transcendence. Its design goes beyond a simple astrological correspondence. A sigil, in the tradition of magic, is not a random drawing, but a graphic condensation of a magical will or intention, a visualized formula for manifesting a desire on the material plane. The construction of such symbols is found in ancient grimoires, where the invocation and connection with specific entities or energies are achieved through these sacred signatures. Zoso, in this sense, would not only be a mark of identity, but a personal magical signature of Jimmy Page, a conductor of power and a mirror of his own inner alchemy, forged in the forge of his occult understanding. Consider Zoso a true nexus of energy, a key that connected Page to ancestral and cosmic currents, a catalyst for the creative force that propelled Led Zeppelin to unparalleled heights. If an artist is a channel, their art the manifestation, then this symbol may have operated as an antenna, tuning into the frequencies of the invisible and transmuting them into the band's soaring symphony. It's not unreasonable to think that, for Page, Zoso represented a kind of shield and weapon, a point of convergence where the energy of his will united with cosmic vitality to shape music that resonated with an almost paranormal power. This glyph becomes an extension of his being, a medium through which the occultist musician projected his intention onto the sound canvas, imbuing each note with a resonance that transcended the purely musical, touching the most sensitive fibers of an audience that, perhaps unknowingly, was exposed to a subtle form of enchantment. Yet every symbol of power, every foray into the realm of the arcane, carries with it a weight, an inescapable responsibility. Was Zoso, then, simply a declaration? Or, on the contrary, the seal of a deeper pact, a commitment to forces that would exact its price? Legends of musicians making pacts with the devil at crossroads, such as Robert Johnson in the Delta Blues, resonate in this context, suggesting that the pursuit of unheard of prowess or inspiration often involves a transaction with the unseen. Jimmy Page, like David Bowie, at certain stages of his career, or Black Sabbath's thematic forays into the dark, seemed to flirt with these energies, consciously or subconsciously. Zoso might be the silent witness to this tension between enlightenment and risk, a reminder that magic, especially that which seeks to transcend conventional boundaries, is not exempt from the complexities of a spiritual exorcism of the soul, in which the paranormal becomes the real dot. Thus, Zoso transcends its visual form to become an emblem of Jimmy Page's inner alchemy, a mirror of his journey into forbidden realms. It is not an endpoint, but a fragment of a larger map, an enigma, within a series of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. This symbol, more than a mere curiosity of rock history, is an invitation to reflection, a gateway to understanding how art can be a conduit for the deepest energies of the universe, and how the search for hidden knowledge can radically transform the seeker. What other keys await to be deciphered in the personal symbology of the masters? And how do these revelations allow us to see the very essence of artistic creation as an ongoing ritual? While Zoso's symbolism invited us to contemplate the inner alchemy of Jimmy Page, and Led Zeppelin's music resonated with ritual echoes, we now turn our gaze to David Bowie. In his enigmatic Thin White Duke phase, Bowie stood as a beacon of exploration, and at the same time, a warning. His skeletal and elegant figure embodied not only a transgressive aesthetic, but also became the vessel for a deep immersion in black magic. This odyssey intertwined his genius with a harrowing paranoia, exacerbated by the ravages of substances that promised to expand consciousness, but often only pierced the veil of reality, leaving the explorer vulnerable to the darkest currents of the subconscious and perhaps the transcendent. It was a ritual of self-transformation, where the boundaries between art, spirituality, and madness became dangerously blurred, turning his existence into a series of personal invocations and exorcisms. Bowie's fascination with the occult wasn't superficial. He immersed himself in the works of Aleister Crowley, the great beast 666, whose Thelemite philosophies promised access to latent powers and the true individual will. Bowie didn't just read Crowley. He attempted to experience his principles with a rare intensity. He was rumored to perform protection rituals and exorcisms in his Los Angeles home, drawing pentagrams and lighting candles to ward off presences he constantly felt around him. This commitment wasn't just a nod to Gothic symbolism, but a deep conviction, a search for enlightenment along esoteric paths that, without proper preparation, could easily confuse the mind and open doors to the paranormal, where the line between games and genuine invocation became dangerously blurred. Emulating legends of ancient pacts, it was in this crucible of artistic experimentation and rampant cocaine use, immersed in esotericism, that Bowie's paranoia reached its peak. The walls of his house felt porous, shadows came alive, and the certainty of dark forces stalking him became an inescapable reality. Every night was a battle against invisible entities, every sound a confirmation of a relentless pursuit. For him, it wasn't a mere hallucination. It was a palpable manifestation of the black magic he believed he was combating, or perhaps attracting. His music from this period, cold and cryptic, became a sonic exorcism, a desperate attempt to channel these forces. Bowie, the shaman of rock, had become a prisoner of his own alchemy, revealing how the search for forbidden knowledge can plunge the seeker into a greater darkness, where symbolism becomes flesh and the paranormal takes root in reality. David Bowie's existential angst resonates with the intensity of legends that speak of a pact with the devil, evoking the figure of Robert Johnson at his crossroads, or the somber majesty of Black Sabbath invoking sonic abysses. Like Jimmy Page, who imbued Led Zeppelin with arcane symbolism, Bowie dared to cross thresholds. But while Page seemed to manage energies with calculated mastery, Bowie, at this stage, seemed to be at the crossroads himself, not of a conscious transaction, but of an uncontrollable spiral, where creative power and psychic dissolution merged. His experience underscores an inescapable truth of occultism in rock music: the search for the transcendent. The ambition of the paranormal often exacts a price. Black magic, or the belief in it, left an indelible mark, transforming the artist into a tormented oracle, a mirror of the forces he himself invoked, or believed he invoked. Thus, David Bowie's Thing White Duke phase is not a mere chapter in his musical biography, but a living treatise on the dangers and promises of inner alchemy and the occult. It confronts us with the idea that truth is shaped by our deepest beliefs and amplified by substances that alter perception. His paranoia, though painful, was also a window into the human psyche and the malleability of reality when interacting with incomprehensible energies. Was it a real battle against black magic entities, or an internal dialogue magnified by illness and drugs? The answer lies at the intersection of the two, a mystery that resonates with the cosmic energy of ineffable truths. His legacy compels us to question the nature of inspiration and the price of forbidden knowledge. How, then, do we decipher the echoes of these experiences in the musical structures that still move us today, inviting us on a sonic journey that seeks to unveil the veils? The answer awaits in the harmonic geometry of rock, where vibration is a map of consciousness. The echo of vibration, that map of consciousness we referred to, leads us inexorably to the enigmatic episode of David Bowie and his pool, a microcosm of his inner torment and an energetic crossroads that defies mundane logic. He perceived, with a certainty that transcended reason, that a malignant entity dwelled in the crystalline water, a creeping shadow of black magic, perhaps a vestige of some forgotten ritual, or the psychic manifestation of discordant energies accumulated in that place. For Bowie, this was not a delirium caused solely by the substances that altered his perception, but a tangible confrontation with a paranormal force, a spiritual battle that demanded direct action. The pool, a symbol of purification and rebirth, in many traditions, had become for him a murky mirror of his own psyche, reflecting a hidden possession that demanded to be expelled. This profound belief, far from being a mere whim, reveals the permeability of reality when one ventures into the confines of the occult, where the boundaries between reality and the imaginary dissolve. Thus, desperation drove David Bowie to the unthinkable, the exorcism of his swimming pool. This act, which to a layman might seem like madness, is, in the universe of the occult, a primal response to the perception of a spiritual intrusion. It was not a rite of the Catholic Church, but an evocation of ancient banishing rituals, an attempt to purify the space through one's own will and ritual imbued with symbolism. Elements of black magic were sought, chants and methods were used that challenged orthodoxy, seeking to break the entity's attachment to the place. Water, A medium conductive energies became the epicenter of this struggle, a canvas on which his deepest fears and most strongly held convictions about the existence of the paranormal were projected. It was an attempt at spiritual alchemy to transform a contaminated space into a sanctuary, freeing not only the environment, but ultimately his own psyche from the oppression he felt. What then was this malignant entity that so tormented Bowie? A classic demon, a wandering spirit, or a projection of his own shadow, exacerbated by creative tension and the use of psychotropic drugs? Occult legends teach us that certain energies can attach themselves to places, objects, or even individuals, manifesting in inexplicable ways. Consider the stories of Robert Johnson and his pact at the crossroads, a metaphorical surrender to a dark muse in exchange for musical genius. Bowie's entity wasn't a pact in the literal sense, but rather a manifestation of the price of immersion in the arcane, a dark counterpart to creative power. It could have been an egregore fueled by his own paranoid energy, or an authentic lower astral presence drawn to the vulnerability of a soul on the edge of perception. The mystery of its nature reinforces the idea that the human mind, when interacting with the occult, can invoke or materialize unsuspected forces. This Bowie episode is not an isolated incident in the tapestry of rock music, but rather a strand connecting a myriad of artists to the occult. From Jimmy Page's fascination with Aleister Crowley, whose residence, Boleskine House, was said to be charged with black magic energies, to the dark lyrics and symbolism of bands like Black Sabbath, music has been a vehicle for exploring the paranormal. These artists, in various ways, flirted with the esoteric, some seeking inspiration, others, consciously or not, opening portals to the unknown. The crossroads is presented not only as the legendary meeting point for a diabolical bargain, but as the metaphorical threshold into the artist's psyche, where deep truths and abysses meet, where ambition and soul clash in an eternal dance. Bowie's experience in his pool, his personal exorcism, compels us to reflect deeply on the interconnectedness between mind, spirit, and environment. It teaches us that the search for spiritual enlightenment often involves confronting our own shadow selves and the invisible energies that surround us. It is an inner alchemy where paranoia can be a gateway to more acute perceptions, and where belief becomes a force capable of shaping reality, or at least our experience of it. Was the act a success, or simply a catharsis that allowed Bowie to transition to his next artistic incarnation? What we do know is that his legacy resonates with a cosmic energy, inviting us to explore the fine line between divine inspiration and arcane possession. But what happens when these energies are not mere perceptions, but deliberate invocations, and art becomes the vessel for forgotten rituals and whispers of ancient pacts? The answer lies hidden in the distorted chords, waiting to be deciphered by those who dare to listen. But what happens when these energies are not mere perceptions, but deliberate invocations, and art becomes the vessel for forgotten rituals and whispers of ancient pacts? The answer, dear explorers of the unknown, lies hidden in the distorted chords of an old bluesman, waiting to be deciphered by those who dare to listen. We now delve into the legend that has cemented the fascination of occultism in music and rock, the tale of Robert Johnson, the guitar virtuoso whose unparalleled talent, according to tradition, was forged at a lonely crossroads by moonlight. Through a pact with the devil, this story is no mere folktale. It is an archetype, a master key that reveals the depths of human ambition and the desire for artistic transcendence, taking us to a territory where reality merges with myth and the search for mastery borders on the paranormal. The legend of Robert Johnson is rooted in the Mississippi Delta, a place already imbued with a telluric and mystical energy, where the influences of voodoo and ancestral black magic practices permeated the culture. It is said that Johnson, a guitarist of rudimentary talent, disappeared for a time, only to re-emerge with a skill that defied all natural explanation. His once clumsy fingers now danced over the strings with an agility and emotion that seemed supernatural. The symbolism of the crossroads is crucial here. It is not only a geographical point where paths meet, but a liminal place in the collective imagination, a portal where worlds meet, where the mundane can be transcended by the arcane, and where transactions of profound spiritual significance are made. It is said that there, at midnight, he encountered a shadowy figure, a large man who took his guitar, tuned it in a mysterious way, and returned it to him, imbuing him with the gift of mastery in exchange for his soul. This narrative has resonated through the ages, becoming the echo of a deeper truth about the cost of genius. Johnson's influence and his alleged deal with the devil transcended the boundaries of blues, weaving a common thread through the history of music and rock. His figure stands as the prototype of the tormented artist, a cursed genius whose inspiration comes from ineffable, perhaps even dangerous sources. Is it possible that the emotional depth and rhythmic complexity of his blues were so disruptive that only a supernatural explanation could account for them? Beyond the literality of the encounter, this narrative forces us to confront the idea that true mastery, that which moves the soul and transcends time, often demands a sacrifice, a total surrender to a greater force, be it internal or external. Artists like Black Sabbath or David Bowie, and of course, the inescapable Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, although in different ways, have explored this same connection with the arcane, drawing from a source of inspiration that sometimes borders on the forbidden, seeking a resonance beyond the merely human. The symbolism of the crossroads extends far beyond Robert Johnson. It is a universal archetype that represents moments of momentous decision, points of no return in the alchemy of life and spirit. It is the place where one is confronted with duality, the choice between light and shadow, between the safe path and the path of forbidden knowledge. Johnson's story invites us to reflect on the very nature of talent. Is it an innate gift, or can it be acquired through exchange, through openness to forces beyond our everyday understanding? The paranormal is intertwined here with artistic creation, suggesting that behind every guitar note that resonated with disturbing power, hidden not only sweat and effort, but also the echo of a primordial bargain, a surrender to something that vibrated in the cosmic depths, far removed from surface melody. These kinds of legends feed the collective psyche, suggesting that creative power sometimes demands a journey to the threshold of the unknown, a negotiation with the ineffable. Thus, the figure of Robert Johnson not only bequeaths us an invaluable musical treasure, but also a warning and an invitation to reflection. His deal with the devil, whether a literal truth or a powerful metaphor, encapsulates man's eternal quest for excellence, the thirst for a mastery that transcends the limits of the human, even if it requires dancing with the shadows, doesn't. True spiritual enlightenment lie in understanding that certain gifts require a deep immersion in the depths of being, where darkness and light intertwine. Their story is not an ending, but a prelude, a discordant note that resonates through the ages, inviting us to ask ourselves, what other masters of rock and music sought, perhaps unknowingly, at the crossroads of their own existence, an echo of that same power, a spark of that same black magic to ignite their art, to transcend the flesh and achieve sonic immortality, as if Aleister Crowley himself had designed the pentagram of their artistic destiny? The answer, my friends, awaits. U.S. in the complex sound rituals that await in the next chapter of our revelation. We have uncovered a fragment of forbidden truth, my dear seekers, a glimpse into the heart of the alchemy that fuses occultism and music. Spiritual enlightenment does not reside exclusively in diaphanous light, but in the audacity to gaze into the abysses, to recognize that the most transcendent creativity, that which resonates through the ages, often emerges from a complex transmutation between the sacred and the profane. The legends of the pact with the devil, far from being mere superstitions, stand as powerful symbols of the unbreakable human will to surpass its own limits, to instill a spark that transcends flesh and time. Robert Johnson's seminal Blues, the echo of his crossroads, is not a single tale but a universal archetype whose discordant note resonates in the distorted strings of rock, in the somber laments of Black Sabbath, and in the enigmatic artistry of figures like Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin. It is the eternal dance with the paranormal, the search for a black magic that is not malevolent in its essence, but a primal force capable of breaking the chains of the ordinary, an exorcism of mediocrity to achieve artistic immortality. But isn't every sublime work of art, every melody that shakes our soul to its core, itself a subtle crossroads, a silent pact the artist establishes with the ineffable, with that cosmic force that Aleister Crowley and so many others tried to catalog and summon? What part of our own essence are we willing to offer on the altar of our passion, so that our voice, our work, may resonate for eternity, transcending time and oblivion in perpetual resonance? This journey through the veils of occultism in music has only just begun, friends of knowledge. If these revelations have lit a flame in your spirit, if you feel part of this search for truths that few dare to contemplate, I invite you to join our brotherhood of seekers. Share this revelation with those whose souls yearn for enlightenment, and subscribe to this channel so that our chorus of knowledge continues to resonate, unveiling every mystery, every legend that has shaped art and the human soul. This is not just a channel. It is a portal to realms of wisdom that few dare to explore, a beacon in the dense fog of unknowing. Prepare yourself, for the next sonic ritual awaits us. We will delve deeper into the arcana of music and rock, exploring the esoteric connections of figures like Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin with the legacy of Aleister Crowley, and how black magic and occult symbolism were woven into the very fabric of their sound, transforming their art into a spell, a paranormal experience. A new veil is about to be unveiled, a new chapter in this epic of inner alchemy. Are you ready to cross the threshold into the next mystery?